Rob is the Chief of Staff of the Asymmetric Operations Sector at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory. He is a native of Silver Springs, Maryland, with 37 years in government service in national security. Rob is the husband of and caregiver to Heidi, who was diagnosed with APBD in 2018, and an advocate in our community. Welcome, Rob.
Hey, good morning, everyone. And Natasha, that was a great talk. I feel like it looks like we prepped together, even though we didn't actually. So I'm here to give you the caregiver's talk this morning. And I thought long and hard on the best way to spend these few minutes with you. I want to make sure what I'm going to say is going to resonate with patients, caregivers, medical professionals, and researchers equally. So here's how I intend to do that. First, I want to talk briefly about my wife's condition and my role as a caregiver. Most of you are all too familiar with the disease and how hard it is to be a good caregiver, so I am not going to spend my entire time on that. Next, I will provide you my views based on my personal experiences on how to help you as a caregiver to stay healthy. I will then focus the rest of my talk on hope and how we can translate hope into actions you can take as a caregiver, as well as my personal vision for the future. So my wife, Heidi, has been debilitated by APBD for years, with her worst symptoms being continuous excruciating pain, coupled with incontinence and a loss of mobility. While Heidi has APBD, that's not who she is, and you should never let your loved one be defined by that label. Heidi is a sharp, funny, accomplished artist, mother, grandmother, and friend. That's who she is. When you walk into her house, you feel like you're walking into an art gallery. I'm speaking to you today as a caregiver. When I think of caregiving, I think of utter exhaustion, lack of sleep, constant worry, constant anxiety, and my continuous fight against overwhelming sadness, all the while juggling more tasks a day than I can count, while still working full time. But that is also not who I am. I've been a national security professional for more than 40 years serving our country. I'm a father and a grandfather. And while I'm speaking to you as a caregiver today, I'm still working full-time as a leader at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, where they have taught me new skills, which have helped me to contribute to our cause here today. Being a caregiver is not for the faint of heart. It is exhausting. It causes sleep deprivation and anxiety. Mainly, it is heartbreaking, watching your loved one deteriorating and in terrible pain all the time. It can also be very frustrating to deal with clinical doctors. Too many are uncomfortable treating our loved ones with a disease they know so little about. And while that is not all doctors, and we have known some amazing ones, it is far too many of them. So a bit about self-care. So for all of you caregivers, I do want to talk about self-care for a minute. It is too easy to focus all your attention on your loved one and not to take care of yourself. I used to think that was the right thing to do. And I felt guilty ever even thinking about myself. That doesn't help your loved one. I learned that the hard way when I ignored a medical issue for years, and I'm very lucky things did not turn out worse. You need sleep. You need exercise. You need to keep your head on straight, and you need self-time. I don't have a magical formula, but I can share with you what I've been doing. For sleep, I now bring in an aide at least once a week and get 9+ hours sleep to restore me a bit. The other nights, like last night, I get less than 6 hours sleep, and it's in small chunks. For exercise, while I can no longer have the luxury of exercising 90 minutes a day, I still make sure I get in 20 to 30 minutes every day, somehow, some way. I also have an excellent physical therapist who's been very helpful. To keep my head straight, I see a therapist regularly, and she's been very helpful. My work at Johns Hopkins is also very important to me. They're like a second family. And frankly, with our medical expenses, we can certainly use the money. And I still love to eat, so I try to sneak out or Uber in some great food, just enough of the time to keep myself sane. As for self-time, I get a full-time aide in about every 2 months, and I sneak up to New Jersey to spend a day with 2 of my granddaughters. And last May, for the first time, I took a short solo vacation to Chicago and just walked around and ate for a few days. That's how I try to keep my head in the game. I hope some of this will be helpful for some of you. Now, I want to focus the rest of my talk on hope, the actions we can all take, and add a few recommendations. I understand that hope can sound like a hollow or even Pollyannish notion. Our loved ones are all smart and they understand the severity of the situation they're in. Here's how I view hope and how I try to translate that feeling into what I believe are meaningful actions. First, I decided this year to just stop passively watching APBDRF work their hearts out and decided to personally become a more active part of the solution. I was frustrated because I could not understand the progress that was being made on any of the research efforts and how, if at all, these efforts were fitting into our ultimate plan to effectively treat our loved ones. I still frankly feel frustrated by that today. I realized I was not helping enough by sitting back passively and laying all of this on the quote foundation. We should all consider ourselves extensions of the foundations, and we should all play a role if we can. So for me, I started reaching out directly to researchers to understand better what their goals were and where they were in their research. I also wanted to help ensure that our dedicated researchers always saw our patients as people. For example, this year I've been interacting with Dr. Mayank Verma, Dr. Nirbhay Yadav, Dr. Becca Koch, and the leadership at NLORM, all of whom are speaking or spoke yesterday at this conference, and all of whom are dedicated researchers passionate about helping our loved one. Anytime I learn anything shareable, I share that with the APBDRF leadership. I'm also now encouraging additional research ideas by trying to give our researchers a different perspective. In addition to that, I'm also trying to spread the word about APBD more broadly about within research communities I touch, including my own biologists at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab. And I hope through this process, we end up gaining new researchers interested in our disease. So one thing that may give our loved ones hope is when they learn of any promising research, they understand what that research means for them, and they can see us all trying to relentlessly push the state and pace of that research forward. I admit I personally struggled, even with some of the technical talks yesterday, to fully understand the research and where it fit into a practical plan that will lead to at least treatments. The second thing I feel strongly on is the power that data can play in helping our loved ones. I fully understand as soon as I say the word data that many of your eyes just glazed over. By the way, mine used to too when I heard the word data. Let me explain why instead you should perk up and be very interested for this part of this short talk. You all have a disease that very few people understand, and what we still do not understand far outweighs what we do know. Our researchers confirmed that yesterday in their talks. To put a finer point on it, if you describe all of your symptoms to the latest version of the ChatGPT artificial intelligence tool that most people use, it will not even list APD as a potential diagnosis. And when you question it, it cannot even figure out why it didn't list it as a diagnosis when the data is there. We have to do better. I applaud Dr. Becca Koch and Dr. Priya Kishnani from Duke for leading the collection of unique natural history data. I know many of you originally didn't understand why this is important. I promise you, this will become very important to all of us as we move closer to clinical trials and treatments. I want to take this further, though. I've been working with my wife, Heidi, to figure out what types of unique daily data we can easily collect ourselves that can not only help her, but hopefully help all of us in the future. So we're now keeping a daily log. Why? Two reasons. The first is I want to find out what things make her feel better or worse on a daily basis. And over time, I believe that data will help all of us, not just her. And I've been working with some of my own top-notch data scientists here on this. The second is we need data to judge how well any interventions or eventual clinical trials are impacting our loved ones. I think we can do better than just the standard medical trial measurements. Not that there's anything wrong with those, and I intend to work toward that goal. And when we make any breakthroughs through data, we'll be for sure helping the broader rare disease community. So Heidi and I have started logging daily data, an experiment which my gut tells me will be key to helping us all in the future. I will be happy to share what we are doing with anyone who's interested in offline. When this is done, I'll put my email address in there, anybody who's interested. And I'll invite others to log data as well. Just contact me. The one thing I've learned from 42 years of national security experience is that you cannot go back and collect information easily after the fact. And when you have data, only good things can come from it. Anything I come up with, I'll be sharing with Becca Koch so that mine, or if eventually our daily logging data and her natural history efforts remain linked. The third thing this fall I intend to offer APBDRF is a revised way to think about vision, high-level goals, and ways to track our progress, modeled after something we use at Johns Hopkins known as Envision Futures. At Johns Hopkins, we have found that by having a bold vision and then using it to track your efforts, and yes, we track our efforts pretty relentlessly here as well, it really helps you to make progress. And we have also found that it encourages researchers to be extra creative. My initial thinking, just to throw it out there for thought, is that our envisioned future might be something like APBD will become a completely manageable disease in which people's lives are barely impacted by their symptoms. I recognize this is a really bold goal, but we need a really bold goal. Once you have that articulated goal, the trick is to then use it to drive relentlessly toward making progress toward that goal. We all know that this is a life and death effort. So these are the actions I am taking using my frankly non-medical skills. This is how I personally try to create a sense of hope. I would invite you all to think about what you can do using whatever your unique skills are to help create a sense of hope. So I want to end by circling back on caregiving, since that's the name of the talk. I do recognize being a caregiver for an APBD loved one is an incredibly difficult role. And I commend and bless all of you who serve as caregivers. I recognize this is hard, but we should never forget it's way harder for our loved ones. I urge all of you to remember about self-care. Doing so will keep you healthy and keep you from getting frustrated too often. And when you do that, you will ultimately be helping your loved ones. Finally, I urge all of you to find more ways to contribute more broadly to the APBDRF community in a way that links back to your loved one. You'll feel better for it, and you'll be contributing to the cause. Let's do what we can together to make progress and keep each other healthy in the process. Thank you.